Okay, so let's get started. Welcome. My name is Makita Ellis, and I am one of the Assistant Directors of Admissions here in the Office of Admissions at Bloomsburg University. Today, we are going to be taking a departmental deep dive into the wonderful world of special education. Now, I'm extremely excited because we have a uniquely talented panel of students with us today, as well as an expert department chair, Dr. Maureen Walsh. So we're going to go around, and before we get started with our actual presentation, we're going to go around and everybody's going to introduce themselves so we can find out a little bit more about them and what they're doing in special education. Okay, so we'll get started first with Dr. Walsh.
Hi, yes, like Makita said, my name is Dr. Maureen Walsh. I am the chairperson of the Department of Exceptionality Programs, and within our department we have 3 programs, and special education is one of them, and that's my background. I have certification in special education. So welcome.
Thank you. Let's see, Jenna, can you get started with our students?
Absolutely. My name's Jenna Biter. I'm a junior with a dual major in early childhood and special ed. I'm from Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and I also am in the social, emotional, and behavior wellness endorsement here at BloomU.
Awesome, great. So Logan.
Hi guys, I'm Logan Libby. I'm from Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania. I'm a junior here at Bloomsburg. My major is the same as Jenna's, the LM education K-4, and then the special education K-12.
Awesome. Joshua.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm currently a senior. I'm student teaching right now. I am also in the dual program, special education and early childhood education, and I'm also from Hazleton.
Okay, welcome. And Chen.
Hi, I'm Chen, and I come from China. I'm an international student, and I graduated from Bloomsburg for my bachelor's degree, and this May I will finish my master's degree.
Perfect. So you're going to give us a master level invitation to what we're going to find out for the master level. So great.
Yeah, prior to that.
Yes, great. Thank you. Okay, so let's get started with our actual presentation. Dr. Walsh.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to walk you through. These are just some highlights of our special education, early childhood education dual major here at Bloomsburg. Okay, so you can see we have minors that are available to you. You do not have to have a minor because you have a dual major with you will leave with 2 certifications because our major is special education from PK to 12th grade, and then ECE, you'll get certified early childhood, that would be PK through 4th grade. So you have a lot of flexibility as far as what you can do with those 2 certifications. So you don't have to feel like you have to go ahead and have a minor as well, but many of our students do. So here are just some of the minor options for you: American Sign Language, Child Life Specialist, Ed Tech, Playwork, and then endorsements. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about our social, emotional, behavioral wellness endorsement a little bit. Jenna had mentioned that, and this is something that we're extremely proud of everything we offer, but this is something worth speaking about, but I'll get to that in a little bit. So yeah, you have so much flexibility as far as the path you take with this major.
Now, I actually had a question about that because I know you mentioned certificates and minoring. What's the major difference between minoring and obtaining a certificate or endorsement?
That's a really good question. With a minor, this is something that, goes on your transcript so people can see, if you're going for jobs, they can see what you're certified in, but then also can see the minor, which represents what you studied. But the endorsement is different in terms of like the social, emotional, behavioral wellness endorsement that we're going to talk more about in a little bit. That's something that is issued by the state of Pennsylvania, just like this certification. mean, we are the vehicle to get you certified in the special education and early childhood education fields. But it is actually Pennsylvania Department of Ed, which we refer to as PDE, that issues the certification. They verify with us that you in fact completed everything you needed to. The same is true with the endorsement. And the endorsement just shows that you specialized in an area. And you know, right now, this is the major focus in districts. We are getting so many contacts from people outside of our university because their administrators are telling them, these are teachers that have been teaching for years, their administrators are saying, go to Bloomsburg University for this endorsement. They can take 4 classes and they get this endorsement, which is something you add to your professional level certification. In order to get an endorsement from the state, you have to have a professional certificate through the state, which would be, you know, basically your teachers that get the level 1, level 2 certification. Guidance counselors, they're another strand of professionals that can get this endorsement. You need the certification first. The endorsement is something you add to it. So when you're going for a job, it makes you that much more marketable. It shows that not only do you have that certification, but you have an area that I'm afraid to say you're an expert because nobody is truly an expert. And there's always more to learn, especially when it comes to mental health issues. But like I said before, administrators know that this is such an area of concern for all of our students, PK through 12. And then this is before the pandemic that we were the second school in Pennsylvania to offer this endorsement. Now with the pandemic, we are seeing it just intensify as far as the needs in our schools and our kids that are dealing with mental health issues. So this this endorsement goes with your certification, and it really gets you more into core ways of how you can help students with their social, emotional, and behavioral needs.
Perfect. Thank
Does that
you.
help, Nikita?
Yeah, no, that was very thorough. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so basically people want to know, well, what's it like to major in special education, early childhood education? From the get-go, we get you out into field experiences. Field experiences are just ways to get you into schools working with kids. So we have different levels, and of course we have to follow Pennsylvania Department of Ed and what they require. So one of the first experiences would be your early field experiences. You're not expected to go in and teach a class because you're just starting out in the major, but you're going in, you're doing observations, and maybe you're having then maybe one-to-one interactions with students if that's the need in the classroom. But what we do is we gradually work you up to more intense experiences where in fact, slowly you are learning how to deliver instruction to our PK through 12 students to the point where you could eventually get to then student teaching. And, you know, we have our students here who can talk about that. So yeah, we have course embedded field experiences. We have the early field experiences where you go in, you do observations, but then as you matriculate through your coursework, the higher level the courses, the more intense the course embedded field experiences are. So you're actually, like I said before, you're taking what you're learning and applying it, you know, it's that whole transfer into practice, the application of what you're learning in the classroom, you're putting it into play while you're working with real students, PK through 12, and delivering that instruction. And when you student teach, this is unique because it's a dual certification. You have 2 different placements where some places you have 1 placement for the semester. No, you have 2 placements. You'll do one that focuses on your special education and the other one, the early childhood education. So, which is nice because the more diversity you can get in, you know, your experiences, the better off you are. And so we focus on teaching methods in our coursework and also things like classroom management strategies. There are many organizations and clubs that you can participate in as one of our students. And, you know, our students, like I said before, they can speak to some of these better than I can. You know, I think Jenna has been participating in some of these. I don't remember everybody's interactions with the different organizations, but we have so many opportunities through our organizations to get our students to interact with individuals with disabilities in the community. And we do a lot of things where we pair our BU students with, you know, individuals from the community. It's really a nice experience because, you know, for some individuals with intellectual disabilities, if it weren't for things like our college students offer, they might only be interacting, you know, with their family members. So it gives them, you know, that varied social experience. Who wants to just only interact with their family members? So they get to interact with college students, and you know, it's beneficial to them, but I would argue it's even more beneficial to our students as well. They love the experiences, and they just always asking to do more. So we have Best Buddies, that's one. We have our Student Council for Exceptional Children, and we do many different events through those organizations. And then our Trinity House is unique because, excuse me, we have a house in the community where individuals with intellectual disabilities reside, but our college students are there with them, often in the house, doing things like baking with them or taking them out in social settings or just hanging out and playing games. So it's really a rewarding experience, and we're pretty proud of it. Okay, so we talked about the extensive field experience. So, you know, the question would always come up from time to time, what if I get to a point where I'm a junior or senior and I realize I'm not meant to be a teacher? That really shouldn't happen because you're getting your experiences from the get-go. So you should be getting that feeling of, you know, this is what I am meant to be doing, or this is something I'm not enjoying. So usually all of these experiences solidify for our students that this is where their passion is. Excuse me, I haven't coughed all day, and of course now I am.
I actually have a question about
Sure.
the student teaching experience.
Yes.
So what I was wondering with student teaching, is that separated and split into two different semesters, or is that all together as one when a student?
Very good question. Yeah, that is in one semester, but we don't allow our students to take classes or anything during that semester because it is so intense. And Josh is nodding. I see him. He's, you know, involved in student teaching now, and he certainly will have time to speak about that. So yeah, it is all in one semester, and this semester is split in half.
Okay.
And that is the culmination of all your work. It would make no sense to have us put you out in student teaching and then you have a couple courses to finish up. You do that. That is the last thing you do after you've gotten all the content.
I was just about to ask that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. And we have professional experience opportunities. We have situations where faculty members work with our students on research endeavors. We try to get our students to conferences, especially prior to the pandemic, opportunities to present. And we also have professional U, which we really work on prepping our students for everything from the job interview, preparing for the job interview, preparing the resume, to professional dress. We have that available too for students, believe it or not. If you know, your wardrobe is kind of limited, we have an option for students to go to where they can get professional clothing. So we really we care so much about our students. We want them to be successful. We don't want something to be left, you know, that caused a problem or made them feel like they weren't ready for the job interview and getting that dream job they want. And again, I'm thinking of Josh right now. He'll be sharing soon his situation. But we also have a CATCH conference, and the acronym is right there, Collaborating to Assist Teacher Candidates in Hiring. This has really, it just gets better and better and better every semester when we run it. we invite our local administrators, and actually it's not so local that it's so limited to, you know, just very close to Bloomsburg. We expand it, and we have administrators come from all over, and they come and they talk to our students. They give suggestions on, you know, these are good things to do in a job interview. This is something you don't want to do in a job interview. This is what we're looking for in a teacher candidate. This is something that we wouldn't want. We try to connect our students right then and there to these professionals and administrators that will be hiring teachers. So it really is so worthwhile. It helps the districts who are in need of our student teachers becoming teachers. And then it certainly helps our students feel more prepared for when they are going to that formal interview. And we do some interviews right there on the spot that day as well. There are so many career opportunities with the special education dual degree. Yes, you can teach as a special ed teacher. You may be hired as an early childhood education teacher. A lot of times it opens the door to a path that you didn't realize you wanted until you get out there and you get a feel of what you love or what you want to learn more about. It's amazing because if you look into a district, a school district, or even a college, and you look at a lot of the professionals that are leading in those areas, a lot of them started off in special education. I think because there's certain characteristics of a special education teacher, you know, people who are really organized and driven and passionate, and also can always realize that no matter what, there's a way. I think it's those characteristics that lead to anything you want, really. And Chen can speak about that as well in a little bit. So she has exciting news to share. So I just want to mention, I haven't mentioned it yet, and I try to always mention it, special education. When I was going to be a special education teacher a long time ago, I was a dual major myself. Mine was not special ed in early childhood, it was special ed elementary ed. My special education degree was the same as far as PK through 12. There were pockets of the United States at the time that they would show us on a map, and they would say, see these areas? There are shortages of special ed teachers in these areas of the United States. I'm telling you right now, that map is full of shortages. It's a national shortage. And so if you are excited about opportunities and you're passionate about a field that can help make a difference in children's lives one day at a time, this is, I'm so biased, I'm sorry, but I think this is the field. And the thing is, to be young and spontaneous, you can go anywhere you want to teach because they need special education teachers.
And what are some of the misconceptions that you tend to run across with individuals that are maybe thinking about going into special education, but then turn away from it because they're worried about a specific student teaching experience or who they're going to be paired with? What?
You know, that's a really, really good question. And I think there are a lot of misconceptions. I mean, that one thing that I'll say that's a little bit off the mark of where we're going, but we teach Intro to Individuals with Exceptionalities. It's one of the classes that is open to any major on campus. And that is eye-opening for students, especially those who are not coming in as special ed majors. They take that class and they realize that some of the assumptions they made about disabilities, they were wrong. And a lot of it is the bias or the way things are presented, maybe in the media. Just information is definitely skewed. They take that class and they see, like, this is something that's intriguing. I can do this. I had fears before. I think sometimes we fear the unknown. And when you understand more, you're that much more open to it. So why I'm bringing that course up, we've had many students who didn't start off as special education majors. They took that course and they're like, this is where I'm meant to be. and they switch over. So I think I don't really have a good answer for you, Makita, but I do agree with what you're saying, though. I think there are so many fears and misconceptions about what it's like to be a special ed teacher that might deter people. So I think the more they can even shadow or talk to people in the field, the better understanding they would have.
Perfect, thank you.
Sure. And so some of the highlights, yeah, I talked about our endorsement, our social emotional behavioral wellness endorsement. I want you to know that we have what's called the McDowell Institute for Teacher Excellence. And it happens to be housed right here in the same building that I'm in, that our special education courses, most of them are delivered when we're not in a pandemic through Navy Hall. But this all started from a woman named Susan McDowell, and she was very generous and provided a very generous donation so that we can start this McDowell Institute for Teacher Excellence. That is what really got the ball rolling as far as us being able to do outreach and training, not just for our future teachers, but to the districts that we support in the community. We do so much as far as training on trauma-informed practices, just understanding like warning signs if your students in your classroom could be struggling with some of the social, emotional, and behavioral issues. We've done so much. And what we do too is we've created modules through our McDowell Institute that we embed in our coursework. So that's what, you know, sets us apart from other universities as well. Not to toot our own horn, but we do so much of that integration into the coursework. So not only are you getting, you know, we're covering the competencies that our state requires us to cover, but you're also getting the additional information that is so vital to meet the needs that our students out in the PK through 12 settings are dealing with on a daily basis. And we're adjusting to be the best we can in meeting those needs. So I can't say enough about the McDowell Institute, what Susan McDowell has done for Bloomsburg University. And again, we do so much through there as far as training, and we have students working on fellowships and faculty doing research in this area. It just continues to grow and grow and grow. And then we have other opportunities as well. Like I said before, faculty and students working together on research. And again, high demand for special education teachers in PA and nationwide. And that's about it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Walsh. I really appreciate you sharing some insight into special education. So now let's kind of take a step back and talk to some of our students on our panel. So I'm kind of curious from all of you on here, what actually made you select special education as a major? So let's get started with Chen.
Well, my story is a little bit weird, but I guess it is meaningful. Because before this major, I changed like 2 times. Like when I changed my major like 2 times, because I want to find a like major I really like. So I tried accounting, I tried nursing. So I just like, well, I can do it, but I don't want to spend my whole life on that area. So it's kind of like interesting because I took one class from special education, and I learned a lot of like basic information, like what is like a special education and how we can help. And I'm like, oh, that's really meaningful. And by the way, I like children. I always be the like a big like favorite cousin in the family. So I'm like, oh, that's really meaningful. I want to know more. So I started taking class. Then I realized, okay, we can change the world. And well, I come from a little town like which do not have that much like awareness of special education. So I have some friends like I can remember when we were in school, they're kind of smart but become naughty. So I think oh, so I hope I can do something to spread the awareness and to let more children receive like the support which they need. So yeah.
Oh, perfect. Thank you. It sounds like you're kind of like a jack of all
Superhero
trades.
dream, like something like that. Like
Yeah.
I want to be the superhero to change the world.
Perfect. Thank you. Josh, what can you tell us about why you chose special education as a major?
So I actually was in a similar path with Chen. I started off here hoping to become a nurse and took some science courses, didn't really like them. So, I decided, well, if I would have stuck with nursing, I would have wanted to go into pediatrics. And I knew I always wanted to work with children. And I started to think back, what made me happy going through high school, going through just school in general. And it was literally being in school. And I was fortunate enough to work with students with exceptionalities while I was in high school, in middle school, and working with them brought me joy. So I knew from then I needed to go into special education, and I got in talking with Dr. Walsh, and she got me into it.
Perfect. Thank you. Logan, what can you tell us about why you chose special education?
Yeah, so like Josh, I actually started working with students with disabilities in high school. My high school, Selinsgrove, had a class where it was called Intro to Exceptionalities, where you would actually go down in the special education room and you would work alongside the teachers and the aides that were in there and support the students. And you actually had like a one-on-one student that you'd help every day. So I know the one student that I held, me and him had like a super special bond. And I know it was like one of those things that like we had A and B days, every A day. I look forward to going to the classroom, and we had block scheduling, so I had to spend an hour and 20 minutes with him. And it was just one of those things that like he got excited when he saw me, and like likewise. And I think what really got me into it was to see the progress that he made from like the start of the year to the end of the year, and just like me helping him with just like little skills like hand over hand writing and stuff. And by the end of the school year, like he could almost write by himself, and for him that was like a super big accomplishment. But just like I think the interactions and the ability just to pretty much like change the way that students with disabilities look at themselves and see that they can achieve more than they ever thought they could.
Perfect. Thank you. And I know special education is very hands-on, so that does help, to really get acclimated to being in that environment, to have that experience. So thank you, Logan. Jenna, what can you share with us?
So ever since I was really young, I've always had a passion for helping others. And I wish I could say that I had some of the same experiences like Logan and stuff, where like their school had those programs. Like I always get so jealous of others in my major where they said that their high school had best buddies or programs like that, because my high school was pretty small and like we didn't offer stuff like that. And kind of like Chen and Josh, I originally wasn't a dual major when I came here. I was actually secondary English education. But then my senior year of high school, and I applied here like super early, like September, my senior year. But senior year of high school, I played tennis, and there was this girl on my tennis team with autism, and she was just like the sweetest thing. So I loved helping her out and like bonding with her and stuff like that. So she really inspired me to go down that route, because I realized that I wanted to continue to help people and make a difference for them and stuff. And it's been the most rewarding experience so far.
Perfect. And so I hear from some of you that you had other experiences with certain classes, but you really have fallen in love with special education. So what is your favorite class ultimately in special education? I know that's a hard thing to really ask somebody, but if you had to really think about it, which one really stands out to you as your favorite class? So let's get started with Logan this time.
I don't know if I specifically have a favorite class. I really like the technology course with Dr. Zills. He was a really good professor. That was more learning what kind of technology you can use to help individuals with disabilities. So like if an individual can't talk, they could possibly use like a Dynabox that helped them pretty much speak, gave them a voice using like eye contact with the screen and stuff. But I know like there's been a couple professors like Dr. Lilo. She's been a professor. Actually, I have her for 3 classes right now, but she's been a professor that's really like helped me like just I think, grow as a teacher, as like a future teacher, and help me take steps to just like understanding assessments, how students think, what kind of ways we can help students. So I think that's I don't know, just not important class. Well, all classes are important in the major, but I think that the professors are what really make a difference here at Bloomsburg. So
Yeah, they give you your experience. That's true. Joshua. Sorry, Josh. Sorry.
Okay. I would say probably the moderate to severe disabilities course with Dr. Drogan. That
Okay.
really prepared me for my placement. I think a lot of the stuff we learned in that class is very application based, and you do what you are taught basically in that course. I mean, some of the stuff that we go over, I was in my first placement of student teaching, and I was able to relate what I was doing with the students with that course. So, I mean, for sure, definitely that one.
Perfect. Thank you. And Jenna.
One that really stood out to me was Dr. Jessica Harry's behavior class. It actually inspired me to do the endorsement in social, emotional, and behavioral wellness. She always started off class by telling a story about her day, and it would be stories about like her students and stuff that really happens. And like, that just really stood out to me. Like every time she told a story, like my jaw would drop every time. And I had this class virtually last semester. So I would see like my jaw dropping and I'd be like, oh my gosh. And I would just laugh. I'd be like, this stuff really happens. And she was just so real with us, and kind of told you like what happens behind the scenes. Like it wasn't so much about like assessments, lessons, stuff like that. It was more about dealing with students' behaviors, parents, and stuff like that.
So serious but real conversations.
Yeah.
Great. Chen, what can you share about your favorite class?
Yeah, I try to recall because my undergrad is kind of far away from me. Yeah, but I just like one of my favorite class is like I forgot who taught it, but that's about like PBIS, like to tell you how to use a public positive behavior intervention and the support to help the students. I like it because that's so useful. You will know how to like treat a kid in a positive way, like use a reinforcement rather than punish them. And to be honest, I use them a lot to treat my cousins. So I really use it. And I think that's really fun. And we went to the school to see how the teachers like help the students in a positive way rather than like punish them. So I think that's really cool.
Perfect. Do you have a master's favorite class right now, or are you still kind of getting used to it?
Well, I will see the academic writing because that's kind of like my part. I just like I might keep doing the research. So I like how our department have those kind of class to support you to be a researcher. So that is my favorite class. That class I know is by from Dr. Rogan. So I remember that one.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. So I know all of you have had well, actually, I would say widely different experiences while you've been in special education. So as far as your student teaching, can you talk a little bit more about that, whether you've done student teaching or field experience? So let's start with Jenna. What can you tell us about your experience right now?
So since I'm only a junior right now, I haven't student taught yet, but I have completed a practicum. I did it last semester. So I did it in Hazleton in an autistic support classroom. And due to COVID and their school being on and off, I was only able to go into the classroom 4 times, but it was the best 4 experiences ever. And I reference them all the time in other classes with my peers, whether or not they're in the field of education. I don't know, I just had the best times, and you learn so much when you're in the field. Like, you just see the littlest things, like a teacher's body language and how they deal with unique situations. And some of those situations aren't things that you can learn in a lecture or, in a class. It's just those little things in between. And in addition to this practicum, the days I didn't go, I did a thing called Reading Buddies, which was, progress monitoring with students through a virtual setting. And that gave me experience communicating with parents, which was different because that's not something a lot of college students get practice with. So I've always had really positive field experiences.
Do you feel prepared for your student teaching?
I
feel like-
definitely do, and I'm really excited for it next year at this time.
Perfect. Chen, what can you tell us about your student teaching experience?
So I finished my 2 years ago. Fortunately, that's before the pandemic, so I did everything in normal. So I finished my first placement in Melton, and I was teaching in a kindergarten classroom. So that's
Okay.
for the general ed part. So I think I hold the whole class for 1 week. So everything I all did it, and my mentor just like stay ahead and monitor me. So that's really cool. And I think student teaching is the time you move from the student version to the teacher version, and you will get support from your mentor, your supervisor, and everyone around you, even your classmates. So every 2 week or like every 3 weeks, we will meet together and we discuss what we had and like find a solution together. So everyone will support each other. So I really love that part. And also, I think for my second placement, I did my special ed student teaching in Berwick, and my mentor really helped me a lot to show me how to like teach step by step. So I love it.
Perfect. Thank you. Josh, what can you tell us?
So I'm currently student teaching right now, and my first placement was in a 3rd through 5th grade autistic support classroom. Unfortunately, I was virtual, they were in person, but you really get to work one-on-one with students. And like Logan mentioned earlier, you get to know who these students are and you get to see their progress, and that means the most. Once you see that they are progressing, you know you're making an impact with those students and you are doing something. You are in the field, you are teaching.
Well, and I think that, trying to do this virtually too, that's an added skill that not everybody can say that they have. So, I think kudos to you because it's a difficult task to try to do this all virtually. So, congratulations for you on doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I just have to jump in and say, I have heard amazing things about Joshua too. I mean, he's just not, meeting expectations, he's surpassing them. So we're really proud of him. I do think, the pandemic, there are definitely benefits as far as, having to look at the glass half full. And I think that our students who have had to deal with this, they can handle anything.
Yep. I agree with you on that. I definitely do. Logan, what about your experience?
Yeah, so I actually one of my first ever field experience at Bloomsburg. It was for the introduction special ed class, and I got to go to a special education room in the Shikellamy School District, and it was an autistic support classroom. And I think it was K-2. I remember just walking in. All the students had absolutely no clue who I was, and all of them got out of their seat and just came up to me and started giving me hugs and talking to me right away. And that was one thing that opened my eyes. These students had no clue who I was, but they were excited to see me because I was a new person, I was a new face, and they knew that I was just there to spend time with them. So that was one of the coolest field experiences I've had at my time at Bloomsburg. And actually right now I'm in the practicum with Dr. Lilo. And so since the whole pandemic thing, it's all online. So I've been doing all my field experiences at the East Stroudsburg area school district. So it's kind of like cyber school. And that's pretty cool, perspective of teaching now because everything's online. I go on Google Meet every Wednesday with the students. I teach my lessons through an interactive software called Nearpod. So it's pretty cool. The students hop on their computers and we go through all the lessons and mini lessons, and I do one-on-ones with them all through technology. And I think I definitely have a better appreciation for teachers because it is hard, and definitely with the whole technology aspect, it's brought a new light to kind of help me get through everyday things with students.
Yeah, that's very true. Thank you. So I know you have very busy lives. I know you're doing a lot of things. What else are you involved in as a special education major? Josh, could you tell us what you're involved in?
Sure. So like Dr. Walsh mentioned earlier in the presentation, there's a lot of different organizations you could join. I was actively involved in Student Council of Exceptional Children, and as well as Trinity. I did do some work with Trinity throughout my undergrad. And I'm also, I think there's a point in time where you realize that everything on campus isn't the only thing. There's also more within the community. And I loved, being involved in the community. I taught a course here. I taught an SAT prep course for the university. And I also do work with the Children's Miracle Network.
Okay, great. Thank you. Chen, what about you?
I was a member of Best Buddies when I was undergrad student, and we did a lot of meaningful things. We just create a event to help individuals with special needs to be involved in the community. So we just holding the party, we holding the park tour, something like that. So yeah, I think it's a very a meaningful one, and it's kind of match my goal to help more people to spread the awareness of special ed. So it's really good.
Perfect. Thank you. Logan.
Yeah, so also in the special education program, I'm in Best Buddies, and I've helped out Trinity House, which actually is pretty cool with Best Buddies. It led to me to my current job right now, because one of the buddies that I worked at was part of the Shared Support Incorporation. So I actually work now with individuals with disabilities as my job when I'm not at school, which is pretty cool. So that led to my job. And then I'm also on the football team here at Bloomsburg. So being a student athlete is one of the best things I think I've ever decided to do in my life, because it brings an opportunity for me to represent the school on the academic side and also on the athletic side. And although my schedule is always pretty busy, it's pretty rewarding at the end of the day when I get to see me have good grades and being able to accomplish specific things on the field.
Okay, and you'll be going into a day in the life, so we'll be interested to hear what your day's like. Jenna.
So I'm also involved in Best Buddies. And my buddy in the organization is hands down the coolest person that I know. I always love my phone calls with her. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to spend time with her in the past year due to the pandemic, but I give her a phone call, every now and then, and it just makes my day. I'll call her up and she'll be like, "Hey girl, hey, what's going on?" And oh my gosh, she's just the sweetest person. I'm on the exec board for Bocce Bash. I'm the vice president of that, and that takes place in the fall. So fingers crossed that could be in person this year. I heard that it most likely is supposed to be. So that's a lot of fun to organize, and it's so rewarding to, have the Bocce Bash and just see everyone smiling. And I only got to experience it one time in person, but that was one of my favorite days at Bloomsburg was Bocce Bash. And I'm also a mentor for the College of Education learning community on campus. And so I have 5 mentees that I just help out with classes and just, give advice to, and I'm just here to cheer them on and be a supporter for them.
Okay, so clearly you all are multitaskers. So, and I feel like in education and any aspect of education, you have to be a multitasker, because you have to know how to juggle multiple students all at the same time, and then parents too, because that's a super important component. While you're a student here at Bloomsburg, what does a day look like for you? So Jenna, tell me what your day looks like.
So my day typically starts off by going to Starbucks, or at least having some form of coffee, just so I can get everything done, because that's my form of motivation and energy.
Gotta stay awake.
I definitely thrive off of lots of Post-it notes to help time manage. I'm not at my apartment right now. I'm at my room at home, but at my apartment, I have Post-it notes everywhere. And some of it's just little things like email this person or text this person. And some of it's study for this quiz or whatever. but yeah, it definitely is a lot of studying and all that kind of stuff behind the scenes. But and it does take, you need a system to time manage, whether your system is a planner, post-it notes, alarms. I personally do all three, but yeah.
Thank you. Josh, what can you tell us?
I mean, so right now, my day looks like, waking up at around 6 a.m. and getting ready for school. I'm in a first grade classroom right now, and I'm starting to take over the full day this week and next
Oh.
week. So I am teaching from about 9:45 until about 3:15.
Oh,
And then
long
after
day.
school, yeah. And then after school, I'm usually prepping for the next day.
Yep. Yeah, the preparation is super important in education because you have to know what you're about to teach the next day. So,
Definitely.
yep. Logan, what can you tell us about your day? Because I know you have a busy day.
Yeah, so I mean, my day usually starts off around like 8 a.m., 7, depending on what I have for football. Sometimes I have like meetings and stuff in the morning. And then I usually have a full class schedule. So it's usually like 9:30 class, 11 o'clock class, and then like a 2 o'clock class. And then in between there sometime, I'll find time to eat lunch. And then I usually have lifting. And then usually after the 3:15 class, I have some sort of practice. And I'm usually done around like 6:30. So then at that time, I usually do homework, study. And I think being a student athlete is pretty cool because my days are always structured. So I know for some students come to college right away is they just like don't understand like time management, how to be able to study, how to do your work, not wait till last minute. That was something I had to learn how to do. I'm a huge procrastinator. And being a student athlete definitely helped me with that because it was like, oh, it's 6:30. I didn't have time to do anything. So now I got to set aside a time that's like distraction free and be able to get all my work done, be able to study, get ready for the next day and prepare. So definitely busy, but I mean, I always find time to make sure I do schoolwork because that's obviously a priority. It's student athlete, not athlete student.
Yeah, I think that that's super important for students to understand is time management. And in any major, really, you have to know how to juggle all your homework, your activities, but still enjoy yourself as a college student because that's what you're here to do. So Chen, I know you have a very uniquely different experience. So what is your day like?
Yeah, I was thinking, wow, my life is a little bit different because as a graduate student, most of my class are in the evening, so I have really like a flexible schedule for the daytime. But I work as a JA, like to help the professor do something. So usually I will went to school, like Jenna said, get my coffee and went to the department to do some work with my mentor, and also like doing my homework and taking class. So it's kind of bored, but yeah, that's my life. Really boring life.
Would you say you were a little busier in your undergraduate than during your graduate, or
Yeah,
kind of it's
because
just a different type of busy?
yeah, I remember there's one semester I took 6 course in one semester, so really busy, but like meaningful. I just like taking class and having like group discussion with friends and like study together. So yes, it's kind of busy, but still have fun.
Okay, perfect. Now, thank you all for giving me some insight and giving our audience some insight into special education. I'm always encouraging any student that's interested to complete an application and get started and come and ask questions about BU. Now I know that there are sometimes there are questions that students who are applying have coming into an education program specifically. I think this is probably more for you, Dr. Walsh, but what advice do you have for a student that's interested in special education?
Well, I was just going to mention, so I don't know if this is really answering your question, but I wanted to put it out there. Sometimes prospective students are on the fence. They're like, I don't know if I want to go the special ed route. And here's my response. 10, 15 years ago, you it really, you made your decision. If you didn't want to go into special education, then you're not going to teach. It's unlikely you would teach a child with a disability. We are in a different lifetime right now. I don't care what your discipline is in education, you are going to have students with disabilities in your classroom. So why not have the preparation? I think it's again, I'm biased, but to me, it's a no-brainer because you can get the dual certification. You could be that much more prepared for teaching. So my advice would be to look at it with an open mind and realize that we're not in a segregated time anymore, thank goodness. We have an integrated, setting in our, inclusive settings in our classrooms and our schools. So to be as prepared as you could be, I think it only makes sense to take that coursework. And I mean, Pennsylvania Department of Ed has changed the requirements for any teacher. If you didn't choose special education, you still have to take 9 credits through special education. So you at least have some of that background, but why not go the whole,
Yeah.
go the whole way, in my opinion.
Now, will a student need to take their praxis in order to come into special education, or do they need to
So you're
forego that?
okay, you're referring to the basic skills test, I think. Yeah, we have different points where you have to be tested. You have to have the qualifying scores for a basic skills test. So it could be that your SAT score is high enough and you wouldn't have to take, say, a praxis. You can have a high enough ACT, or there's the praxis, there's also the PAPA. All 4 of those count for a basic skills test. You may have the qualifying, like I said, if you took an SAT or an ACT, but even if you didn't, you could take one of those tests. We do provide students with test preparation in case they're worried. And for those of you wondering what is the basic skills test, it's testing you on math, reading, and writing to make sure that you have that foundational, so you're prepared. You have the basics that you should have at that point. Then the certification test right before student teaching that you should be taking is we have the PECT, P-E-C-T. But in some disciplines, it's the praxis, but it's not the basic skills test praxis, it's the content. So you're being tested on the content
Okay.
for that later assessment.
So don't be afraid of it.
No, not at all. And
Yeah.
we provide supports. We want our students to be successful.
Perfect. Thank you. Again, thank you all for joining me in today's departmental deep dive. I truly appreciate it. Now, whatever questions you have, we're happy to answer those questions. Please feel free to reach out to us at any point in time. And thank you to the panel for joining us today. It was really a pleasure to get to know you a little bit more, get to know what your experiences were. Now, I know actually we do have one question. Let's see. In fall at open house, there was a professor that indicated that if one special education certificate was held, let's see, would it pigeonhole that person into teaching special education? Is that no longer the case? Would a student be pigeonholed into only teaching special education?
Well, again, you're getting the certification, the dual certification. So I'm wondering if they're trying to say that with the dual certification, when a district wants you, are you going to be stuck with, that special education position versus maybe early childhood ed with that other cert? To me, that shouldn't make you fearful. If your heart is in it, you're going to, like I said, you're going to teach students with disabilities, whether you have that special education certification or not. So, and I don't necessarily think so. I think, like I said before, there's a national shortage. So you can take the job that your heart is telling you that is meant for you. Just like choosing a college, you have to go where your heartstrings are pulling you. And Josh I'm teasing him. He is dealing with a dilemma right now. He has so many job offers. He's not sure which job to take. That's a good problem to have. So as far as the term pigeonholed, I think that's like a negative connotation. I think it's excitement when, administration would want you to, take on a position.
Thank you. Okay, and what are some of the requirements to get accepted into the special education program? Okay, that is going into admissions. Now, typically we, look for students to have at least a B+ GPA. That's typically our average. So student right now, we are test optional currently, but we do prefer that we have pre-college prep courses as well. For a student coming in as a transfer student, it is a little different, where a student would need at least, we look for around about a 2.5 GPA typically coming in. So by the time you reach your student teaching, you do need to have that 3.0 GPA. So do keep that in mind when you're going into the program, that you want to bring that GPA up. And that's a good thing. You don't ever want to not keep your GPA up. So be sure to take advantage of all the resources that we do have available if you're admitted into the program, so that can assist you throughout that process. I know that I can't talk to the person that's asking the question. I wish I could, but thank you so much again. And I appreciate the questions, great questions that you all are asking. And again, thank you to the students. Thank you, Dr. Walsh, for joining us. This was a great event, and we do hope to connect again in the future. Thank you. Bye, everyone.